Rambo mounts a one-man mission to rescue his friend, Colonel Troutman, from the clutches of the formidable invading Soviet forces in Afghanistan. Rambo 3 is up next on Inside Movies. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Inside Movies. Today we're talking Rambo 3. Today I'm joined by writer Murphey for the first time, writer illustrator GMB CHOMICHUK, and novelist Andrew Buckley. Thanks very much for being on the show, guys.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for having us.
You
Forgot to introduce yourself as a writer and all-around great dude also.
Yeah, what do you do, George?
Comics maker, dream weaver.
And I like to talk movies. And let's get into it. Let's talk Rambo 3. What is the good? What did you guys like about this installment in the Rambo franchise?
Story-wise, it actually does make more plausible sense than the second one did. Just as far as, because they do move it really quick. Like first act, 20 minutes, he's already like, Carmen's come to him. He's already been captured. The dude from that 70s show came back and said, he's been captured. We're not going to do anything about it. He's like, I'll go. And that's it. 20 minutes, first act, all sorted. It's very clean cut.
The pacing was actually very, very good.
George, speaking of super violent, fun, entertaining content, what have you been up to lately?
I've got a series out called Cover of Darkness. It's like Game of Thrones meets Universal Monsters. It has all your favorites: vampires, werewolves, the mummy, creature from the Black Lagoon, and a steampunk Atlantean Frankenstein. So if you like shared universe of monsters with kind of Lord of the Rings style fantasy all smashed together, ask your local comic book retailer to bring in Cover of Darkness from Source Point Press.
I liked the irony that Rambo trained the Mujahideen to fight the Soviet forces. That essentially Rambo is teaming up with the group that American actual forces would have to go in and fight later. There was a strange irony watching that in the present day, watching him talk to Afghani people about their resistance of gigantic military forces, and then knowing that pretty soon Rambo and all his buddies will be there. Funny that. And Rambo's like, don't lie down for them. Don't give up. Be your freedom fighters. It was really weird to watch that.
It was a different time.
I definitely felt that.
Yeah, they actually changed the little ending at the end, hey? Because it used to say for those for that tribe, this movie's dedicated to that tribe, and then now it says to the gallant people of Afghanistan. So they changed it because things happened in the future that weren't awesome. So
I couldn't find them streaming anywhere, so I went and bought DVDs of it. And
whoa.
Yeah, now I want to go back and see if my DVD actually has the original type on there.
I immediately feel like I want to give you a gift for the commitment of purchasing Rambo movies for the sake of this channel.
I don't even know what to say.
I didn't make the full commitment. There was one box set that had all of them, but I wasn't about to spend $20.
You guys, this is the good. Come on, I like these movies.
Oh yeah,
They're
this is
cool.
the good. This is the good.
Okay, so what's good is we've learned something about politics
with the bow and arrow.
We've learned something about politics. Murphy has bought some new DVDs.
Mm-hmm.
That's always positive.
There was some really solid dialogue, like the speech that the Afghan soldier gave when they when Rambo saying I'm going to go by myself, and then they try to say no, let's go with him, and then everyone's starts fighting, and he's explains why they're so against going out and wasting their men on something that's not keeping them safe and keeping their women and children safe. That was a good moment. I really felt for their people.
Oh, another great thing, you guys, the ribbon tying, so beautiful.
It's a headband.
Red ribbon tying in his hair.
It's a headband, and it's awesome.
That red ribbon as he turns, and then he turns to camera, boom, and his eyes lock with us, and we can feel the iron grip of his power on our very souls before he fights with sticks.
Greg, you're killing me. That was awesome. Like the whole thing, he's tying.
I said it was
he's fighting
good.
those guys. You're making fun
You're
of it.
being sarcastic. Don't even.
You're calling it
you
a
can
rivet.
all hear it. It's very, very clear.
Those wooden sticks, that does not seem safe. You would definitely like break someone's forearm if you were like fighting with those.
Yeah, that dude kept
Wait,
hitting
are we
him.
in real? We talking about real things now? Realism?
Yeah, can we talk about the healing his bullet hole with gunpowder part then? Because that's
Oh,
Is that awesome
that was
or is
amazing.
that lame? What do you guys
that's
think?
why my face looks this way. I healed it with gunpowder.
I will say as a good, and this, I mean, I don't know how many movies we've done so far that have been ruined for me, that I saw as a childhood and loved, and saw it now and was like, oh shit, that's terrible. I don't know why I ever loved it. This one kind of did hold up for me, not because it was good, Greg.
Yes.
It wasn't good, but there were so many like cool badass moments that I was like, oh yeah, it does. Even the dumbassery of like pouring gunpowder and like setting basically a flamethrower through his body. Even that was like, yeah, that's super cool. Which was the same as, the reaction that 14-year-old me had as well. So
But I want to ask, just as a general, maybe this is a movie moment. This is like a movie magic.
Mhm.
How could it be done? This
can't
is
be
like
done.
a special effect that to this day I cannot.
Oh, I
Unravel.
was wondering about that. I was like, how do you get him to shoot fire out of his stomach that way?
It didn't
No,
go
not
through
that
his
one.
body.
That one I could figure out. It's the way that he glistens like he's covered in baby oil, but the dust does not stick to him for some reason. He's not all dusty and gritty in those scenes. Do they have to hose him off right after and then reapply the oil and then do another helicopter dust up scene? Like, how is that done?
No,
Flexes
Stallone is-
it off like he's the Hulk, and it goes.
Yeah, he's so badass it doesn't stick to him.
Like what's
The dust is afraid.
in Mission Impossible when he like pumps up his biceps.
Well, yeah,
He reloads
that's right.
him.
Where he like loads his arms.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
This movie has like so much awesomeness. Like there's the opening fight scene, there's the sneak into the bad guy's base, and he's got to try and rescue the people, and he's setting out the little bombs and stuff like that. That was awesome. And then there's like the big in the cave. I really got like the inspiration was, or they really felt inspired by Raiders of the Lost Ark. Did you get that? When they're coming down the ropes into the cavern, and yeah,
I would be curious to know if the same like rigging team or special effects group or the same desert like unit that shot those scenes in Raiders shot some of that stuff, because there was some elements that clearly were, the way it was shot, the way it was executed. Yeah, I'm feeling that, George. I'm feeling that.
I just like him sneaking around and killing people. And like I said, the bow and arrow that blows up the helicopter, I just loved it. I was like, yes, when I saw that.
I had trouble watching this and not thinking of Hot Shots Part 2 though.
Impossible. It's been parodied so many times.
So
it's impossible
much.
to see it as it is. Yeah.
Well, especially because it was the same actor, like Troutman, the dude who played Troutman. It was the same dude in Hot Shots as well. So I really couldn't. When he was giving like his own little speech about why he should go on the mission and stuff, all I can hear is the parody version from Hot Shots. I'm like, Charlie Sheen should do it. So, it was weird.
I like when, like in Hot Shots, he like spits out like 2 walnuts, right? When he gets,
That's right.
I just love that.
Yeah, he's fighting Al Leong, I think.
These movies, Rambo 2, Rambo 3, and really Rambo 4, they feel like the legend of John Rambo as told by people drunk at a bar. Right? It's like they were in the small town where First Blood happened. They heard the stories of John Rambo, and now they tell these stories of John Rambo drunk at the bar. And if I think about them like that, I can kind of like imagine them as urban legends and not laugh at the complete ridiculousness of it through the entire film. Just be like, oh yeah, this is the kind of way you would mythologize a guy. For sure, one guy against the army with a ribbon and a bow and arrow. And the bow and arrow explodes. Did I
Where did
mention
the
that?
bow and arrow come from?
Get me another, Murphy. Get me another. The bow and arrow explodes.
Well, how did he get into the compound? like guys. He used his knife to open everything. It didn't matter what it was, a gate, a door,
Just looking
everything.
for
Just
the landmines.
opened.
and his knife opens and it's got other stuff in it that he needs.
It's like a crazy Swiss Army knife.
We're way off topic now here. I don't know. We've lost all decorum. Are we talking about the good, the bad?
We're still on the good. This movie looks great. It was like the most expensive movie ever made at the time. It has a big budget. It looks sharp. It's got lots of helicopters, which are awesome. I don't know. It's
Is it
cool.
one helicopter the whole time though? Is it just? It's just the one. It's just Soviet Fraser.
And then the other helicopter they escape in, and then they have the gun battle. And it's funny because there's like a gunship helicopter, which only has one job, shooting down other things, and it can't shoot down that other helicopter no matter what. It's so peculiar to me, that sequence. Oh, man. But I remember, so this must be one of those Mandela effect things. In my youth, I remember John Rambo jumping from the one helicopter to the other. Does not appear in this film anywhere. Does not occur. In my mind, I can see it perfectly. His ribbon is flying like a beautiful tassel. He's got a knife in his teeth, and he leaps from one helicopter to the other, but I must have hallucinated it.
I think you need to write the Rambo reboot screenplay.
It would be called Magic Ribbon. And his power comes without knowing from that magic red ribbon he ties on his head, which gives him these amazing superhuman abilities.
Before I move
I
on.
do want to say that the soldier kid, I thought was great, and I think that the relationship that he had with this little kid was really nice, and I don't know, it made me feel for him. I feel like just kind of made him more of a human being.
The kid drove me freaking nuts. Like, kid, stay here. Kid doesn't stay there. Okay, kid, do not come in here. Fucking kid comes in and gets shot in the leg. Like, honestly. Like, what a hindrance.
Well, then the
that
way
little
he
bastard
picks
was.
him up by like the leg and the arm, just runs off with him.
I want to say something for George's sake here. George, I'm enjoying watching these movies because they're not very good. Right?
Is that good? Does that feel like
It's a good thing. I would not revisit these movies and have these conversations and these fun moments if not for the list you gave us, George.
I think your problem is that you're watching these movies with like your Ascot and your wine, and you need to be watching them in your
I
underwear.
need to watch them with my ribbon tied
Drinking
tightly
beer.
around my head. I'm ready for
There you
Rambo
go.
now. Better?
Yeah.
All right. So with that, let's get into the bad. It feels like you guys are itching to pile up on this movie. So
We already did. It's out of my system now.
It was kind of done in the good sections.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to drag it back up for the bad section, but we can discuss it all again, I suppose.
I mean, all the things that were bad about this movie were all the things that were bad about the last one.
It's true. Although I
Right,
like this
that-
one better than 2. I mean, if we're
They
going to
didn't-
rank them.
Fair enough. They just didn't learn any of the lessons
No.
of the good storytelling in Rambo First Blood, and instead they took all the wrong lessons from it and made another movie, Rambo 3.
I
You just
think
pretend.
that Rambo 3 did learn some lessons from Rambo 2, because in the second one,
More
they had
explosions.
they had those issues about the woman basically getting fridged, and like after she threw herself at him. And in this one, they just didn't put any women in it. So there you go.
He did save the 2 women that were in the compound, which I was surprised when he first sees them, and then he gets the key and he leaves, and I was like, classic Rambo. But then he came back and he saved them, and I was like, yeah, good job, bud. I don't think it's a very complicated character.
Are you saying that there's no like subtle nuance to
You're
John
gonna
Rambo?
make George cry. It's so early to be making George cry. It's not cool.
I'm not
guys.
saying it's not good, because I actually enjoyed Rambo 3. I had a good time watching it. I thought the action was good. It's like started off early enough. It like kept me going through the whole movie. But yeah, I mean, he's got like 5 lines that he just says in different like orders.
That's true.
I'm your worst nightmare.
Yeah.
So no,
Wait.
I felt like it did learn some of the lessons from Rambo 2, and it's a pretty quick, story. Like it moves along at a nice clip. I don't have a ton of negatives on it. Like honestly, like let's hear like what specifically that you didn't like. I know you have an issue with like the Soviets being villainized.
Well, I'm just saying my last name is CHOMICHUK, and it gets tiresome when You grow up, and the Russians are always bad.
That's because they are, Greg. They are bad.
Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're very bad, but they're not always very bad. But what I found again, no. Okay, two things. No, man, there's so many things. So many more than two things that I didn't like about this movie. But I'll throw one back to the good, because in the good, I said mostly bad. So I'll throw one to the good from here. The final fight between Little John Rambo and Big Bad Russian Guy, it was actually very entertaining, hilarious, and then it like borders on the absolute absurd when they finally kill him. But
when he drops down the hole and he gets strangled and blows up, I was like, yes, this is awesome.
Yeah, my note was Big Boom Boy. I loved that part.
right?
Okay, so things that I didn't like as a writer, I hate it when the main villain of a series isn't actually like a physical threat, doesn't fight at all, never mixes it up with Rambo at all.
Yes,
I don't like that. I would rather have a big boss fight with the big villain, right? Not with his henchmen. So that for me, I guess, is a flaw. And also the helicopter running into the tank at the end, I laughed out loud because it's a helicopter. It could choose to fly above it, but instead the bad guy just basically, kills himself. It didn't make any sense. It was stupid, but awesome, but stupid.
Stupid but awesome sums up a lot of the parts of that movie. Now, I mean, and I think also it's like the roller coaster of it. Like they're not trying to make a thoughtful movie. They're trying to make a super entertaining film, right? And we have seen in previous videos where we talk about Sylvester Stallone making these movies. When he goes to those places, he really does seem to do thoughtful things in those places. They just don't show up on screen, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised if there's some interesting stories about Sylvester Stallone in the Middle East doing interesting and maybe even helpful things, but they don't show up on that movie screen very much.
There actually is there's some weird backstory behind this. Part of it is that before the movie was released, the Russians did pull out of Afghanistan. So then their promoters were like, well, there's no longer poignant. And they actually blamed
just
that
2 weeks before.
And they blamed that for poor box office performance too, that specific event.
Wouldn't the great pivot would have been Rambo drove them from Afghanistan?
They could have just switched the marketing up.
Edits there.
Totally, they could have done that. It would have worked. And then it was actually never shown in the UK. I remember seeing it specifically on VHS because it was never released in the theaters in England, because there was like a killing spree that had happened by this one guy who was inspired by the Rambo movies.
Oh,
and so it got yeah, it was pretty.
Whoopsie.
Yep, that was a mistake.
As Greg hides his headband.
Yeah, you gotta put the ribbon away.
Put it away.
Put the ribbon away. You know that magic power of those head ribbons. They can cause
very dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, I'll just bulk right out.
You know what I did think about when I was watched this was it felt, I kept thinking about John Wick because I mean most of us love John Wick, and not because it's amazing story wise. I mean just stylistically it's wonderful. There was a lot of stuff in this movie that was stylistically pretty cool. Not obviously, feasible by any account of physics or anything, but it was pretty cool.
Physics.
Yeah.
This is a story told by a drunk person at a bar. It doesn't have to be.
You're not wrong.
This one did have less political commentary in a way. Like it was a lot about that stuff going on in the world, but not so much John Rambo saying it or going through it himself, like personally. I guess they felt enough time had gone past since the Vietnam War to stop kind of beating on that drum. But yeah, so there was a bit less heart to it in a way because it wasn't related to the main character.
But it was still, I think it was though in relation to the freedom fighters and like the people of Afghanistan. I mean, you would go through the Rambo movies. It was Vietnam, Afghanistan. Fourth one was Burma or Myanmar, and then Mexican cartel. I suppose. So he always kind of related back to some weird shit that's happening in the world. The link was there.
All right, let's give our final grades. The Skinny. What are your final thoughts on Rambo 3?
Is there a specific grading system?
No, that's what's great about it.
You
Okay.
can just say whatever the hell you want, apparently.
And Greg will. Just wait.
And George will find it and put it in and make a graphic of it.
George wanted letter grades, but man, that went out the window so quick.
I will give Rambo 3 2 Soviet helicopters out of 5. And 2 Soviet helicopters out of 5 is generous. Right?
I'm going to give it a B. I thought it was a solid 80s action movie. If you like this sort of stuff, go out and watch it because it's fun, it's stupid, and there's lots of cool action and not a real lot of other things to concern yourself about, like female characters.
Wow.
I'm not sure if that sets a tone that
I
we
don't
want
think
to
that is the right thing to say.
So what you mean? is
I
you're
just think
giving
it's funny. There's no women in
3 out
the
of
movie.
4
Like,
people
no,
are
I don't think one woman. She says one word in the whole movie. I think that just it blows my mind.
I love that that statement came the first time we add a female to our panel. That's something, guys. I'll give it 3.5 magical headbands out of 5 because it still matched up with how much I enjoyed it as a kid, which the rest of the movies we've done so far have not.
I will give it 20 arrows out of a quiver.
Ooh, aye. Wait, do we need knowledge as to how many arrows in a
How many
quiver?
No,
arrows
the best part is
quantify that.
at least one of those arrows will explode.
Does that make it better though?
Exactly.
Does that make it better? I mean, is that good? Is
How
it
many
exploding?
arrows in a quiver? I got to know.
There's 30.
Okay,
Oh,
so like 60%. I guess that's a C. I would prefer a B. All right. And that's going to do it for another episode of Inside Movies. If you want to check out Cover of Darkness, there's a link in the description of the video and all of our social media links. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever we're at. It's all in the description of this video. So, yeah, catch us next time and follow along with us. See ya. Peace.